The UConn football team blew a major opportunity Saturday against Syracuse. We pick through the wreckage right now.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UconnHuskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's indeed a Monday. It is not a happy Monday, UConn fans. Welcome in. My name is Mike Mutnansky, host here of the Locked On UConn podcast. We thank you for watching. We thank you for listening and hopefully making Locked On UConn your first watch and your first listen every single day. Available for free wherever you get your podcast. You can watch the show for free on YouTube. Just search Locked On UConn. We, of course, are all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Today's episode, we start with the opportunity missed yesterday, the big picture for UconnHuskies, the game itself, and for the program. The blame game in segment number 2, where this thing was lost Saturday afternoon in upstate New York. There were some positives, and I want to get to some positives individually from this game in segment number 3. I also want to scratch an itch on something very annoying. It's certainly annoying to me that Fran Brown did, coach of Syracuse, after that game on Saturday. I was there in 2002 when Caron Butler and the UconnHuskies, Jim Calhoun's team, Elite Eight against Maryland in the Carrier Dome. It's called the Carrier Dome, them now called the JMA Wireless Dome, whatever it is. But it's still the Carrier Dome to me. And I was there, and they were supposed to win that game. They lost that game. That was against Maryland and Steve Blake and Lonnie Baxter and Gary Williams. That sucked. That was the worst loss I saw for UConn ever up in Syracuse. This is number 2. This is a clear-cut number 2 besides an Elite Eight game against Maryland that still haunts me to this day. And this game might haunt UConn for a long time as well. With 6:48 to go in the fourth quarter Saturday at Syracuse, you led 17-6 against the Orange, and ESPN said you had a 96.2% chance to win that football game. You look at their probability chart, it's second and long. You have a 96.2% chance to win the game. The fans at Syracuse are booing their team, the fans that were left, because in the third and fourth quarter, according to my reports, people I talked to and on social media, place was emptying out. Syracuse fans fleeing to the exits at the, again, JMA Wireless Dome Center, whatever. Carrier Dome, in my mind. They're leaving. You're up 17-6. The game is over. You're about to have a signature win for your program to be 2-0 and propel them to a national talking point here in 2025. And you lose the game. You lose the game. And Jim Mora has said a couple of times, going back to his first press conference with the UconnHuskies, that it was up to him and his coaching staff and his team to earn the respect and earn the attention of UConn fans, because UConn football is not UConn basketball. And he talked about coming in here and building a program that fans can be proud of and they cared about. He just said it last week on his coach's show following the Central win opening day. The flip side of that, coach, is that fans today are pissed. You should be pissed on a Monday because your team should have won. If you care about UConn football, if you care about the program at all, there is no moral victory. There's no, good things to talk about really for this game. It's bad because your team led 17-6. You had a 97% chance to win the game, according to ESPN, and you found a way to lose it. And you lost this game. Syracuse did not win it. UConn lost this football game on Saturday. And we'll talk about the game itself. Huge start for UConn. They get a 4th and 2 stop inside the red zone. Fran Brown runs some ridiculous play where everyone in the world knew they were doing something, with some trickeration to it. You had Angeli look to the sideline. Oh, what's going on? What's going on? Tight end goes in, stuffed it right away. Defense stops early. Coming out of the quarter, you run this great trick play for a tight end touchdown to go up 7-0. A great call by Gordon Samus, the offensive coordinator. You get a Mel Brown touchdown from 40-plus yards out. You're up 14-3. Your defense, which the coach called out after the Central win last week, is flying around and making plays. Like they're smacking Angeli. They're stuffing guys at the line. Big play after big play after big play. And you weren't sure of that type of unit. You had Tyrese Mills step in for Malachi McLean and be all over the place at safety. He was electric in this spot. You had Brian Parham defensively making hits. You had Omar Diamande come up with a big sack in this game. Ben Smiley, the Virginia transfer, early on, a big stuff in the backfield. Like, defensively, you're flying around. You're forcing punts. You're getting Syracuse to, and Fran Brown is sort of getting their own head about what to do. Fourth down, fourth and two. You had the game. You had the game until you didn't. 17-6, fourth down, huge play down the sideline for Syracuse for a touchdown. Bad communication by UConn, kind of a prevent shell defense, makes the play, touchdown. Offense goes into an absolute puddle in the second half of this game. They can't score. We'll get to their drives in the second half coming up. And in the end, Syracuse goes ahead. UConn gets an incredible catch by Skyler Bell, maybe the catch of the year in college football so far. They eventually get the field goal from Chris Freeman to force overtime. But in overtime, a defense that had to do so much during the game just couldn't make a stop there in the red zone. And defensively, UConn, I give a million passing yards, but I would say they had a pretty good game based on what they were asked to do. The middle of the defense was not good on Saturday. Matt Brock and that defensive coordinated staff, they did not make adjustments. They kept going over the middle. Dan Villari, the tight end, I never want to see that guy catch a pass again against UConn. Just over and over again, right down the middle. Boom, first down. Boom, first down. Will Nixon, the running back, had the big play in overtime. Catch and run for a first down. They eventually score right there at the pylon. And then UConn does their own thing. They get some good yards in overtime. They have a second and short, incomplete, third down. And on fourth down, throw to the back of the end zone by Joe Fagnano, who had just an okay game. He was part of the blame game we'll get to coming up. And UConn loses a game that they led 17-6 with 6 minutes to go there in the fourth quarter. With the fans at Syracuse leaving, with the fans booing, and like UConn social media going nuts. And they should have been. The game itself, like, you lose this game, it's a blow to the season. Look at CBS's bowl updates today. They have you as a first responder bowl team day after Christmas against Army. That would have been a much better spot, a much better projection. You started 2-0. Like, the season itself is kind of a missed opportunity now because of what it could have been. They have Delaware this week, and this is interesting. Like, I'm supposed to be a theme all week for us on this show and for Jim Mora. Like, this is a brutal loss, right? You can't overstate how bad this loss was to Syracuse. They can't let this spiral. You have Delaware this week making the move from FBS to FCS. They're a Conference USA team now. They just got spanked by Colorado this weekend, 31-7. UConn has to shake this off. They cannot let this thing linger. And we'll get to the schedule coming up here. The schedule is such that you should be winning a lot of games here the way it was built. And you start losing games to Delaware and Ball State. They should win those games. Shake this loss off. This is a huge spot for Mora to keep this thing going. The season is not over because of this loss. If Syracuse had lost and been 0-2 going with Colgate on Friday night, their next game on their schedule, that would have been their season over. I don't feel that way for UConn. You can still make a bowl game. You can still end up getting in a TV game at the end of the year and get some momentum for your team. But the ceiling is much lower now because this, unfortunately, like Bill Spalding said it over and over again on the call on ESPN, and we get it, Bill. You went to Syracuse, okay? Bill Spalding sounded like he was his puppy was sick beginning of this game because Syracuse was losing. They started making the comeback, and Bill Spalding's all fired up. You look it up. Bill Spalding's a Syracuse guy. Not a surprise. But he said it 10,000 times in the broadcast. Big game for Power 4. Teams looking. Beat a team like Syracuse. It was annoying, but he's not wrong. You win this game, you're a national story. You get to use this as a selling point to other conferences. And now, narrative or not, same old UConn. Close but no cigar. And it sucks to say that, but that's the truth. And when as Jim Mora says, when the fans start to care about this, the flip side is that they can say the game sucked, the results suck. You can't shrug your shoulders and say, when's basketball start? Fans aren't doing that anymore. They've invested in this team. And when you lose a game like this nationally, you lose that momentum about where you're going. Big 12, those are different conversations, but you lose that buzz. And like a schedule standpoint, you don't have many chances like you had on Saturday. The schedule for UconnFootball does not allow it. I was looking this morning at the FPI numbers for ESPN. Like Boston College is 52nd. You play them in October. Duke is 64. You're 79. The next team after that on your schedule is Temple at 83. Everybody else in the hundreds. Like there's just not. BC's a marquee game and would have been a huge game and you got in there 6-0. there's just not many I love the Duke game, but it's not a marquee game for football. We hate Duke. UConn fans hate Duke. I get it. And you want to beat them in your building, but it's not the marquee games. You don't have those on the schedule this year. The schedule was built to win games, get to a bowl. You don't have those big conference games because you're independent. We spent a lot of time on that last week. So the schedule doesn't allow you to have these opportunities much this year. This was one of to me too, I'm not counting Duke. This in Boston College were chances to, on a big stage, beat a team, beat a Power 4 team and say, we're right there with you. Unfortunately, you don't get that momentum now. And so for the season, it stinks. And big picture, whatever the ceiling was for UConn this year, it's lower. And all that buzz, all that attention, Jim Mora on national TV shows, UConn as like the segment that they're doing on ESPN college football shows. Hey, UConn's 2-0. What's Jim Mora up to there? How's this Skyler Bell kid? Those don't exist. The fans are leaving the Carrier Dome. They're getting booed out of their building, and you're up 17-6. You have to win that game. You just have to win that game. I said it. I did a post game on Twitter very quickly. People pointing out wasn't a great camera angle. I get it. I was at a rush. We had flag football and 10 minutes from then, so I was rushing to get it out there. I use the word brutal, and that's the word I keep coming back to. It's basic, and it's worse than that when you think about the impact short and long term, but it was just awful. Such a big opportunity missed for the season and for the program. I want to come back and play the blame game because it's not just one reason UConn lost this game. There were many reasons UConn lost this game. We'll get to it next year. Locked on UConn. Do not go anywhere. All right, when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. We all love free stuff, right? Free. It's for me. How about their free Trademaster program at Supply House? They score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. That's what I like to see. Go to supplyhouse.com right now. Sign up for free. Use the promo code SHColleges for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real services. College football is back, and unfortunately, if you're a UConn fan, you watched a very, very tough game this weekend. I'm excited still for all the product out there in college football. Tailgates, the rivalries, energy in the stands, nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, price jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. How about the Game Time app, baby? So simple, even I could use it. I got in there and found the exact view from my seats, right? That's why I use the app. That's why I use Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. 27-20 in overtime for UConn. Even the overtime. I had the overtime shot. You had a big play by Skyler Bell. Didn't go back to him there. Went to the back of the end zone. Tried somebody else. That was tough. I've used the word brutal over and over again. I would ask you. I want to get your reaction on Tuesday's show. We'll do a lot of the fan reaction, both on social media, but you can also get in touch with us on email. I appreciate some of the emails we've gotten already. You can email us at lockedonuconshow@gmail.com, lockedonuconshow@gmail.com. Your reaction to the game, the season, where it went wrong, just your gut feeling after that game. It was a kick in the gut for sure. We'll read some of your emails and get your reaction on Tuesday's show as we continue to break this game down for a couple of days. Here's UConn football team overtime loss to Syracuse. The blame game. It's the off. I know Steve Angeli has had 400 yards passing. I know UConn's defense in the end could not make plays. It's the offense. And there was a point there in the second half where you led 17-6, came out of halftime, got a field goal on a decent drive. 17-6, and Syracuse went punt, interception, field goal. like some stretch like that. And UConn had 6 straight punts during that time. And they're bad. They're bad when you look at them. 17-3, 6 straight punts before that game-tying field goal by Chris Freeman at the end are bad. Then when it gets worse when you really look at them and you look at how close they were to breaking the game open or getting a first down and putting the thing away. Like it was 17-3 in the early part of the third quarter, could have been 24-3. At some point, it could have been 30-6 in this game when you talk about all the missed opportunities that UConn had. And you go back to just to recap, misplay to the tight end Hansen in the first quarter. The high snap where Stutz had to grab, he saved a touchdown. They ended up getting 3 on that spot in Syracuse, but that was a bad one. Missed interceptions. I mentioned Tyrese Mills. He was not the only one who almost had. Angeli threw 1. He tried to throw 6 in this game for Syracuse. Just so many. How about the almost scoop and score? Like that bounced a certain way, or if UConn's able to get it and go, they score a touchdown there. So missed opportunities, but really, 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 it was about the offense in the second half. 17-3 lead. They get the ball back. Big penalty sets up a 3rd and 20. They pick up 18 yards to Murphy, a good game at wide receiver. They have to punt. So 3rd and 20, pick up 18, forced to punt. Next series, you get into Syracuse territory, get to their 44. Holding brings it back, 4th and 14, another punt. Third series, 3rd and 2. I hated this play call. 3rd and 2, and I think Spalding mentioned it on the broadcast for ESPN Plus, a 1-receiver route to Skyler Bell. Only one guy down the sideline, high degree of difficulty to make the play, one-on-one with a cornerback. Hated the play call. Maybe a miscommunication between Bell and Fignano, I don't know. But I hated that call. 3rd and 2, deep shot sideline, incomplete punt. 4th series in the 6 straight punts was the misplay to honing the tight end, which, if you want to call that the biggest play of the game, I'm all for it. I mean, he was wide open. He could have run forever in that spot and just could not connect. And that's one of those that you have to have as an offense. And we'll get to the coaching in a second, but that was bad. So even after that, you punt it away, you get the pick. Angeli finally throws the pick along the sideline. You get the ball at your own 45. Cam Edwards for 7. Cam Edwards for 4. 1st and 10 at the 44. With 10:10 to go in the game, 1st and 10 at the Syracuse 44. You lead 17-6. Cam Edwards, Bell, 4th and 4, punt it away. Again, way too conservative in that spot. It just, you had a chance, and it was just 2 basic plays. The first play to Cam Edwards was that inside handoff. They lost 4. They got 1 back the next, but then I think it was the Bell run on that reverse play. Just way too conservative. I like it in the ball to Skyler Bell in the running game, but way too conservative. Syracuse scores, brutal breakdown, 4th and forever. Make the play down the sideline. You get the ball back. Immediately, you're throwing 25. The first play, so it's 17-12. The Syracuse fans had stayed, didn't bail. They're getting loud again. First play, Cam Edwards, 25 yards. At that point, I thought game over. He makes a 25-yard run. I thought backbreaker. That's it. Close it out. 1st and 10 at the 50 with 3:53 to go. Eventually, a 3rd and 4. You get an offside penalty on Syracuse. They give you a first down. 1st and 10 at the Syracuse 39 with 3:11 to go. And they start burning timeouts. Cam for -4. That was the drive there. Cam for -4. I was ahead. I was 1 drive ahead on this, but Cam -4. Cam for 3. Skyler Bell run. That was the set. 4th and 11. Inside the 40, and you punt it away. I think it was right at the 40-yard line. And Stutz, I thought he was pretty good in this game, punting for UConn. He punts it in the end zone, touchback. So you only pick up 20 yards. It's a 4th and 11. I probably wouldn't have gone for it there, but you pick up 20 yards. You can't. And Stutz had a great punt early where he pinned him inside the 5-yard line. He was not the issue in this game. He was very busy in the second half for UConn special teams. But that 6, that stretch, they had 3 punts, a field goal, and a pick, and you went punt. That's it right there. And there were plays to be made that they missed. I get it. But offensively, for as good and Gordon Samus, offense coordinator, had a very good game plan. He'll come up in positives next segment. Good game plan to start. Way too conservative late. And I was DMing with Colonel Calhoun on Twitter, who's a diehard UConn fan, because he was into this game yesterday. And I just want to make sure I didn't miss something, because Mel Brown had a big run early in the third, early in the fourth, and we didn't see him again. It was all Cam Edwards. And I like getting the ball to Terrence Smith. He had some carries in this game. I like getting the ball to Cam, obviously. Skyler Bell had a carry. No Mel Brown late. I have some questions there. I'll be curious if Jim Moore has asked those questions in his Monday press later on Monday, to see if that's part of, did they look back and say, hey, we missed some opportunities there by not getting him the ball more. Offensive coordinator, way too conservative late. Joe Fagnano missed some throws. Was not his best game. When he was in the pocket and able to make some throws, he made his throws. He was okay, but I feel like at the end of the game, he had more misses than makes. And he had some wide open looked. Hansen early. A play he could have tucked it and ran. He ended up short-arming the tight end. I mentioned the other tight end play they could have had. Had a lot of balls batted down at the line, which I sort of put the blame on the quarterback there, not credit to the defense. That was tough to see. And penalties too. Offensive penalties, big holdings, some drive. They set special teams penalties too. Really set them back. So I cannot sit here and tell you that I'm putting a lot of blame on the defense. There was a breakdown. Obviously, the fourth and forever was a breakdown. The middle of the defense, which I do put more on the coordination and Matt Brock's the setup than I do the players. The players made plays, but the middle of that defense between the tight end and Nixon out of the backfield, Angeli kept peppering that part of the field, and it wasn't a real good adjustment by UConn. So I know that Angeli threw for 1 million yards, but they stuffed Syracuse in the running game, which we'll get to. Willis was no factor for them. Nixon running the ball was not a factor. He certainly was good out of the backfield. This was on the offense. The UConn football team had a chance to close out Syracuse Saturday and get a statement win. They had the ball up 17-3 and punted on 6 consecutive drives. That cannot happen. That is on a coaching staff that was too conservative. It was on a quarterback, couldn't make some plays, couldn't get generating a lot of runs early on those first downs. You had a huge chance Saturday. Your defense kept bailing you out. Your defense kept making plays. It was the UConn offense that could not hold up their end of the bargain. After a record offensive performance in week 1 against Central, when it mattered most Saturday at Syracuse, they punted on 6 consecutive drives. And instead of a week we're talking about UConn being a national storyline, they're 1-1 and saddled with one of the worst losses a team can have in college football. A 96% chance to win, according to ESPN, with 6 minutes to go, and you lose. That cannot happen, and it should not happen. And I point to mostly the offense in the second half for not getting it done. Let us know what you think. Comment here on the YouTube, watching on YouTube, or you can email us lockedonucon@gmail.com. There were some positives. It's just not just going to be 30 minutes of me screaming about UConn. There were positives in this game. You can believe that. Some positives for this team. We'll get to that. And Fran Brown annoyed me after the game. Annoying coaching move for the Syracuse head coach. Do that next year on Locked On UConn. Don't go anywhere. Well, it is college football season. So I have a question for all you college football fans out there. Go back in time, sit front row for your school's biggest rivalry game, right? What hat would you be wearing? And yes, I said hat. For me, it would be the game. These aren't just hats. These are the same vintage styles that the fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And folks, I am so old. I have, and I'll bring out to a show. I have original hat from the 80s and 90s with a UConn circle hat, like legit game circle hat. I still have one. You can get them now. Even if you're young, not an old man like me, you can still get them. They go for the same price they did back then. Do these game vintage hats. When you use the code Locked On, you get a vintage hat for $16.99. All you have to do, go to the website, thegamecaps.com. That's thegamecaps.com, and grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design. That's the one I like. And use the code Locked On for an exclusive discount, because legends wear the game. All right, there were some positives in a 27-20 loss for the UConn Huskies. Let's start with Skyler Bell. And let's start with this. Look at this catch. If you're watching on YouTube, UConn trying to force overtime. Hail Mary throw down the middle, basically like heaves it up, Joe Fagnano. And Skyler Bell makes the catch of the year in college football. There's not a better catch through, as there's week 0 in college football. So 3 weeks of college football than this catch right here. In traffic, one hand. So he's fighting off a defender with his left hand. Skyler Bell in his right hand gets the ball. Defender behind him and puts it up against his shoulder, goes to the ground, makes the catch. It is the best catch in college football this year, and I don't think it's close. I watched the game with my kids on Saturday. This was a better catch than the David Tyree catch. It didn't mean anything because you lost the game, but David Tyree's helmet catch, this catch is better. This catch right here from Skyler Bell is a better catch than what David Tyree made. That's a spectacular catch. He had a great game. 11 for 105, got a carry. Of course, 4 for 135 a week ago with 2 touchdowns. So on the year now through 2 games, Skyler Bell, 15 catches, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, signature catch of the season in college football. Like, Bolitnikoff Award. Let's start talking about it. He's on the list, one of 47 finalists to start the year. We're not talking Heisman, but he is in the conversation for one of, if not certainly one of the best wide receivers independently. Maybe he is the best independent college wide receiver. He's one of the best college wide receivers in football. 11 for 105, one of the best catches you'll ever see, not hyperbole. And I'll say this, should have gotten the ball more. 11 catches, I don't know what the final target number was, should have been targeted more. Should have been more involved in the game plan. Too many runs to Cam Edwards late in this game. Should have been some Skyler Bell short stuff. They ran, and I'll say that for a second. But Skyler Bell should have gotten the ball more in this game. He was terrific. Cuse rolling coverage his way. Saw how good he was against Central. He still made plays. Great job by Skyler Bell. He loses nothing in defeat. He was terrific. The running game for UConn. You outgained Syracuse on the ground 142-44. Mel Brown, 5 for 72. Cam Edwards, 21 carries, only 84 yards. So he got the bulk of the work late. Again, I question that. You had a couple runs for Terrence Smith in this game. I talked about Terrence Smith a lot last week. He looked explosive in the play that got called back against Central. UConn tried to mix him in. Seemed like Syracuse was ready for that. A decent point by the broadcast crew. When Terrence Smith in the backfield or in motion, Syracuse adjusted. But the rushing game was pretty good. The offensive coaching start was good. Gordon Samus struggled late, was too conservative late. But during the game, bubble screens to wide receivers, wide open plays, trick play for a touchdown. Like, Gordon Samus was in his bag early. I like what I saw early from this UConn offense, but they got way too conservative late. But as far as like out of the gate, play calling, loved it. The start was great. Think about last week, right? You started slow against Central. You botched the punt. They're up 7-0. Skyler Bell bailed you out there a little bit. You came ready to play 4th and 2. That stupid play call by Fran Brown, but you were ready for it. On the road at Syracuse, big spot. They were ready. Defense. I mentioned it. Mills, Parham. Like the defensive individually, they made plays. They shut down the Syracuse running game. Now, part of that was their coaching. They got out of the running game pretty quickly. I was surprised how much Angeli and the offense threw because they got down. UConn defense made plays. They were asked to do too much late. That's my opinion. If I'm critical, it would be of the middle of the defense where the tight end and Nixon, the running back, just kept peppering UConn in the middle. And that there was no real adjustment there. It just felt like it was wide open, a chasm at times. Just play after play after play. Couldn't get it done. But defensively, individually, bounce back. Malachi McLean's not playing, one of your best defensive players, and the guy who steps in for him is the best player on the field. That shows some depth for this team. And guys who, Ben Smiley early on made a great play defensively. There's major turnover on the defense. Only 2 returning starters, a bunch of transfers coming in. So to see them on the road make plays against a much better team than Central, I took some positive about that. Skyler Bell, the running game, offensive start. I guess Chris Freeman hit a big kick late. We'll put him on the positive list, but that was outweighed by the way too conservative 17-6 late. And you eventually lose 27-20 in overtime. And if you backed them early in the week, when it was 6.5, you'd even cover. Late in the process, Saturday, I think it got to 7 in some spots. So you got to push, but Carr's covering that game. Forget winning. What was the percentage of cover? Up 17-6 late, 6 to go. I mean, what are they? 99.9% to cover. They don't cover. Brutal. I mentioned post game from Fran Brown. I guess Syracuse fans love him. He seemed a little too demonstrative on the sideline. Like a lot of Fran Brown. The TV crew loved him for ESPN. He's probably a good coach, right? This bothered me. If you're watching on YouTube, it's a still shot. So they lose this game or they win the game. Jeez. You'd think maybe they lost the game this happened. Syracuse wins the game. And Fran Brown, what does he do? Right? He brings his players on the field to run these, they're wind sprints in name only. They ran like 20-yard jogging kind of half whatever sprints in there, right? This is not Team USA. This is not Lake Placid, Fran Brown. What are we doing? This is all like, look at me. I'm a hard-o coach. And I was in a bad mood after the game anyway, because UConn lost and my camera angle on the live stream in the post game was terrible. But then I see this. It's like, this is not Team USA. We're not skating after a game. We're not going for gold against Russia. It's week 2 of college football. And Fran Brown's got them out there running these fake sprints. Oh, I hated that. That was just a look at me moment. Look at me. I'm the coach. I know we didn't play well. I'm going to show my guys. Like, what do you gain out of this other than guys like me saying, what are you doing here? Like that to me was unbelievable in terms of like, there was no benefit to this. There was no benefit. And maybe his team will take some positives out of it. That annoyed the heck out of me. I hopefully Jim Moore never does like something like that. Fran Brown's not Herb Brooks. Syracuse is not Team USA. What are we doing? And it makes me want to, I don't like Syracuse anyway, but I hope they lose every game by 100 the rest of the way. Every single game. They can't lose enough. And I get it. Scoreboard is scoreboard. When you win, do what you want. I hated that. Like, what? Come on, Herb Brooks. What are we doing? But hey, they won the game. I guess fans will say, Syracuse fan will say, oh, that's great. Look, he's showing them that they didn't play well enough to win. It was all about him. That's not about the players. That's about Fran Brown. That annoyed me. That really annoyed me. Another big moment of Locked On college football fan. Another big moment for Locked On at college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV presenting College Football Kickoff, the ultimate college football weekly preview. They would have been talking about UConn this week had UConn won. Now they won't make the list. Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12, along with AP Coach of the Year, 2-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. We're going to post something on Twitter here. We're going to get your reaction. I want to do a lot of your reaction to this game on Tuesday's show. And just read your posts, read your tweets, read your emails, LockedOnUconnShow@gmail.com. I'm not done talking about this game. We'll get to other UConn topics later on in the week, but there is more about this game to get to on Tuesday, including your reaction to it. If you've gotten this far, do me a favor. Go to the audio feed, subscribe to our podcast, go to the YouTube page, subscribe there, comment, like, tell some UConn alumni that are not thrilled after this game. There's a madman ranting about UConn football at Locked On UConn. Go check him out. Huge help to us, and certainly appreciate all the support. This first week of the show is relaunch and get set for all things UConn sports. Football front and center. We'll get to some other basketball issues, including some recruiting stuff later on in the week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Back on Tuesday. Talk to you.
Go Huskies.